Good Monday morning, everyone, and welcome to Embracing Your Greatness. I am your host, Christina King, and today on Embracing Your Greatness, I have such a treat for you. How many of you have been wondering what's going on with this 2012 stuff? All you hear is this apocalyptic stuff, and we've got the calendar of the Mayan calendar might be ending and something with the Aztec people, but there's just a lot of misinformation out there about what's going on. And as those of you who listen to my show on a regular basis know, this show is about reestablishing the dignity of the human person. And the way that I find out and figure out what my programming is going to be for the month is that I look to the Holy Father's intentions. And once I get a sense of what he's asking us as a church to be praying for in union and communion with the Holy Father, then I kind of know what my programming should be. So, of course, for January 2012, the general intention is that victims of natural disasters, that the victim of natural disasters may receive the spiritual and material comfort that they need to rebuild their lives. And the missionary intention is a dedication to peace, that the dedication of Christians to peace may bear witness to the name of Christ before all men and women of goodwill. And so as I was discerning this, is just thinking about how with the natural disasters, it just seems like there's this ominous presence, if you will, or foreboding. Is something coming? Is something on the horizon? What are the times that we're in right now? Is there something going on supernaturally or spiritually around us that is awakening or speaking to us of oncoming natural disasters? Are the natural disasters that are going on in the world right now a sign of something that's coming, or is this just kind of something that always happens? Because for those of you who have listened to Our Lady of Guadalupe and St. Juan Diego and the apparition of 1531, you know, there was a lot of things going on at that time as well, and that's why they believed it was the end of the world, and of course it wasn't. So my guest today is Michael Brown. Michael Brown, now just about anybody on the Catholic internet knows Michael Brown and his website, which is spiritdaily.com. His website is the first stop for thousands of Catholics, actually, that want kind of their update of news or commentary. And Michael Brown, for those of you who don't know him, actually was a Pulitzer Prize nominated journalist for his work in uncovering a love canal scandal, and he's written many, many books on Catholic things, some of them even fictional. And for me, he's helped updated me on world events and helps me to see the physical world through a spiritual lens. And I think that for some of us, we've kind of lost our ability to see the spiritual lens around us. And so it's one thing that's really awesome about Michael Brown is that he actually provides us that lens of which we can kind of view the world and see what's going on. So without further ado, I'm going to see here, is Michael on? Let's see if Michael is on with us. Michael, are you with me on the air? Nope, not yet. I think we lost him. He should be back in just a moment. Okay, so as soon as he calls in, okay, I'm kidding. Okay, he'll be with us shortly. As soon as he's on the air with us, I'll get him on. But for those of you who have not checked out his website and are able to, it might behoove you to kind of get online at the same time you're listening to the program and check that out. It's spiritdaily.com. That's SPIRIT daily, DAILY.com, one word. So spiritdaily.com. And the headlines that he's got on his site today is that St. Padre Pio said to have had extraordinary spiritual respect for and bond with St. Gemma. And then some of the other things that he's got on there that I think are interesting is, could Cardinal Dolan become Pope? For those of you that haven't heard, Archbishop Dolan in New York, one of the nominated archbishops or bishops that are going to be made Pope by, Cardinal by Pope Benedict XVI. Excuse me, I've only had my one cup of coffee this morning, so bear with me. Some of the other interesting things that he has on his website is Cardinal George apologizes for his KKK remark. So you could get information on that had to do with a gay pride parade, I think, that was going to be passing by a church, and it was right at the time of the church services. So there's some comments about that there. And then do new cardinal appointments, point to another European pope. But he also has things like, there's things going on with Now there's different volcanic activity, and he makes commentary on that, as well as different miracles that are going on, homosexuality and the church crisis, the real story. He even has a really interesting story on here called Sacred Tapestry, found in Buffalo. And I was taking a look at that. It looks like there's 365 relics, including, it's speculated, that it's got the actual clothing that Christ was wearing when he was crucified and on the cross. So very interesting article on that. Some of the things I'm going to be talking to Michael Brown on once he joins us on the program today is Maria Esperanza. I don't know how many of you know of Maria Esperanza, but she is for some of you who don't know who she was a mystic, said to be able to bilocate, read souls, all because she had the stigmata, she levitated, she lived in Britannia. And Britannia is, my understanding, is an area where there are approved apparitions, I think, of Our Lady. And this woman actually traveled extensively, spoke extensively, and talked about messages about Jesus' second coming, but also about a strange illness that's going to it's going to baffle scientists, it's going to baffle people. They're not going to know what's going on. And she said that some of the symptoms were going to be seizures, flu-like symptoms, coughing, diarrhea, that it was going to strike children, particularly infants. And she said that our Lord gave her a remedy for the small children. It's the leaves of a hawthorn plant, and that you're to steep them in tea and administer the tea orally to the infant or child, a quarter of a cup at a time, continually throughout the day and night until the ravages of the illness subside. The symptoms will be flu-like with high fever, purple blackened color to the lips, jerking and flailing like convulsions. So this remedy was given to Maria Esperanza for the times we are living. This plague will come to small children and babies. There will be no ordinary remedy or medicine that will work. So, I don't know. Do you guys, what do you think of that? If you want to call in and comment, of course, although, I've heard wonderful things about Maria Esperanza, I do not believe that she is, I don't think that it's been definitively declared free from error. So, and private revelation is never something the church requires one to believe in their Catholic faith. So, just for discussion purposes, if you would like to call in, ask a question, or have a comment, please join me at 866-333-6279. That's Mary. So 866-333-MARY. So if you do have a question or comment, please feel free to give a call in, and I would love to know your take on that. I was watching the movie Contagion last night. Big name actors in this movie. It was Gwen Paltrow was one of the main characters. Actually, opening scene is she's sick, and then she actually is the first person to die. And I was like, what? She's like the main character. How do you kill her off in the first scene? But of course, with flashbacks, they kind of walk through how she had gotten sick. And Matt Damon plays her husband. And what I found, Jude Law also played an interesting part in this movie. And I was watching this movie after a friend of mine, I was actually doing laundry last night at the laundromat, and she sent me an email saying, you know what, you're going to have Michael Brown on. We've been talking about Maria Esperanza and about how, there could be sicknesses and these kinds of things. I believe Our Lady of Fatima talked about this as well, is that, if Russia wasn't converted, that she would spread her errors throughout the world, and that there would be a coming chastisement. So is that maybe what the 2012 phenomena is about, or spiritual events, And so we were talking about that, and she said, Christina, you need to watch this movie Contagion, because it has all the stuff of what you and I have been talking about. So I sat down last night after I got home from the laundromat, and my husband and I watched it. And the thing that I was most struck by is number one, of how a blogger, somebody who is online, is not considered a true journalist. They believe that only persons who have controlled information coming out of organized governmental agencies or television networks would have the truth. And so they even gave Jude Law a snaggletooth. He had like his front tooth, one of his front teeth looked like a snaggletooth. It was like two of his teeth were like jutted outwards. So he just kind of looked, normal, except for whenever he talked, he just kind of looked snaggly and kind of creepy. So in my opinion, I'm like, okay, so they're painting freelance journalists or persons that blog and YouTube, and somebody who touts that this is important, because one of the things he kept saying throughout the entire movie was that we were getting restricted truth through governmental lines, and if you really wanted the truth, sometimes that airs online before anywhere else. And then he proved that point when later somebody from the CDC actually told a family member of his, before the general public were made known, that this was such an epidemic and pandemic proportions. They were going to be closing the borders. So he called her before that announcement was made to give her the time to get out of the town. And the janitor, sorry, spoiler alert for those of you who want to watch this, I would say, turn your radio off for just a second. I'm not going to talk much more, and I won't spoil it for you. I'm just going to make a couple of comments. But that the janitor overheard him. And he turns around and says, "Did you hear that?" And he said, "Yes, but I've got people that I would want to save too." And it really made him think for a minute. I'm talking about I'm trying to think of what the guy's name is. I can't remember now, but he was in The Matrix. He's the African-American character. So I felt it was interesting that they put Jude Law with a snaggletooth in, where a creepy guy that goes around saying that if you want real information, you need to be able to access free, uncontrolled information like the YouTube or bloggers, and people throughout are making fun of him. He's not a real journalist, and they even at some point paint him that he's a liar and he's just stealing people's money. And they paint this other character who we know in lots of other movies as being like a very righteous person, good, somebody you could trust. And he's in the position of saying that only the government has the right answers, and only the manufactured pharmaceutical companies can save us and save the world, and how lucky people were to be able to get vaccinated. And I don't know. For me, I'm so grateful for YouTube. I'm so grateful for spiritdaily.com and people like Michael Brown. And that's why I'm a blogger. If you go to my blog, embracingyourgreatness.blogspot.com, that's embracingyourgreatness.blogspot.com. Of course, we all have to be prayerful and discerning. You can't swallow anything just hook, line, and sinker. We need to question everything. And God told us if it doesn't bear fruit, if it doesn't hold water, if it doesn't hold up against the tenets of our faith, Catholic Church teaching and traditions of the Church and the Bible and our catechism, if it's not in line with what we know to be true, well then of course you drop it like a stone. You drop that and you don't. But for those things that are ringing true, those things that are constantly being affirmed, should we be paying attention to these things? Should we be looking into this and thinking about and praying about, is there something going on in and around the world, and what should we do about that? So again, if you have a comment about this, if you would like to join me, if you'd like to talk about this movie Contagion, if you have a question for Michael Brown, if you have thoughts or concerns about what's going on in and around the world. Maybe you think I'm crazy. Maybe you think there's nothing going on and I've just watched too many movies, which I guess is totally possible. But it seems to me nowadays more people are very, very receptive and open to the possibility of aliens, and they believe in extraterrestrial beings, but they're not open to believing in spiritual beings. They're not open to angels or demons even, and of course that is Catholic Church teaching, folks. So we are going to go to a break, and when I come back, I'm hoping that we have Michael Brown on the line. So stay tuned here on Embracing Your Greatness. We'll be back after this break.